It's now time for thinking the marketing and storytelling of your winter tourism experiences. And essentially, everything you learn here, you can use it in summer as well. It's just in winter you've got more time to do it, and we both know it's going to be a lot harder to get consumers to respond. So first of all, identify the channels you're going to use. Google as if you were a visitor and figure out if you search 10 things to do in winter in my area, or winter wedding venues, or winter days out. Just see what comes up. Also see which are the channels that talk about those things. And then think, well, how could I insert my product into that? What is different about their products compared to the ones that I am being selling so far? Identify, therefore, the online publications that need content. Journalists essentially need content just like the one that you could provide, but it needs to be fresh, it needs to be exciting, it needs to be new. So think of the travel blogs and magazines that are being written up and think, how can you target one of those journalists to give them ideas on things to include in your local area? Particularly look for good winter photography. One of the things we found in preparing all these materials is that there's very little winter photography by any of the companies, even when they have good case studies. So invest in winter photography. Do not think that you'll be able to use summer photos to sell winter products. And update your website regularly. To be at the top of the search engine optimizations, you need to update your website at least every couple of weeks. And I know that's scary, but keeping it fresh, changing photos, adding new text, not only in your social media, but your website itself is really important. Make sure also you market on site to repeat customers and to find ways in which customers can leave on the day thinking already, when is the next time I'm going to come and what will I do differently? Every time that you don't upsell towards the next visit, it's a missed opportunity. So we found great examples of this, for example, in this case of the Walsingham Abbey. Okay, they found that Instagram worked beautifully for them to actually attract people to come for their snowdrop walks. And they've got a lot of things to do at other times of year, but particularly for those walks, it helped for people that had this yearning after a long winter to say, I want to be outdoors now. I want to start to do things that make me feel like nature is coming back. So find ways in which you can create those must-do activities for your local area. Social media really is the place to market winter experiences. Customers will be looking for things to do, and any inspiration they can find will give them the chance to just say, I'll do it now, particularly for things that don't require booking far in advance. So with social media, set yourself a target. Identify what it is you want to achieve and stick to that. Do a campaign specifically to achieve that target. Look at what your competitors do so far and figure out what is it that they're doing that you think they do better than myself? How could I learn from that? But also learn from yourself. Go back to your own posts and figure out which were the posts that succeeded, which were the ones that had the most traction, the most likes, the most shares, the most comments, and what was different about those posts, and how can I do more of the same? Remember that each social media channel has a different purpose. And so often we fall in the trap that's saying, I will just reuse the same content for a variety of channels, and that's really not going to work anymore. So you have to create a social media calendar. You need to figure out at what times of day and what days of the week your customers are most active and respond best to your content. And this may also vary depending on different market segments, and post specifically to respond to those customer needs and their responsiveness. Look at social media competitions, find ways in which you can encourage people to engage more and to gain something from participating and sharing in your work. And probably what you're realizing by now is that you will probably need some professional help to do some of these things. Two key elements stand out in social media marketing. One of them is the power of really good photography. So make sure your photography is eye-catching, but also it really encourages that idea of winter and what makes your place unique in winter. And the second one is affiliate marketing. You need to find ways in which influencers or people who will be recognized in the marketplace are going to be saying good things about your company, and quite clearly you'll probably have to pay them. The work done here by Boutique Retreats showed that they really used these couple of influencers, and they provide them with really good photography as well as encourage them to take their own really good photos to have fantastic campaign to promote off-season travel. To sell new products, you'll need to become a storyteller. And this means that you need to consider 5 different ways in which you can enhance your experiences. A storyteller focuses on senses, focuses on for example, the visual, the sound, the smells, and how it can improve the way in which you advertise your product and you become much more effective. You also have to consider the emotional experience. What are the emotions you're trying to convey to those people? What do you want them to feel by watching your marketing materials or hearing the stories about your products? Look at the problem-solving experience. What are their needs and what are you trying to do differently for them so they'll be able to remain curious about your offers, they'll be able to think in a creative way, and they'll engage with your products. What will be the physical versus virtual experience of your product? And with this, how will they be able to engage with your product before, during, and after actually engaging in the story or the product itself at the time? How will you create a sense of anticipation, and how will you create a sense of, after having been on your site, still having those memories of the place that will allow them to encourage others to come and visit you? And how does your story help this individual family or couple or person promote and enhance their own ideal self? How do you help the customer to feel better about who they are through the way in which they are engaging with the stories you put forward? We can do this in a variety of ways. Let me share a beautiful example, in my opinion, of what the Tennessee Department of Tourism did in the United States. They've had the single most powerful marketing campaign ever done by them by partnering with a company called Enchroma. And Enchroma installed some colorblind viewfinders in 12 parks and scenic locations in the US, in Tennessee. Tennessee to us is not a place that you'd think I have to travel there for winter. But what they did is they worked with these viewfinders to encourage people who are colorblind to be able to see through those viewfinders what nature really looks like. There's a very large number of people in the world that are colorblind, but many of them have never realized, because only you know what you see and what you don't see. So what we saw here is a way of engaging through this marketing campaign for these people to actually have a complete meltdown, in some cases actually, of just seeing how vivid the colors of autumn were and how until now they've never been able to see them before. And Enchroma also does glasses as well as doing some of these viewfinders, but it was a great way of promoting their product as well as promoting the beauty of this particular place. So look at marketing and storytelling by involving your customers a lot more, okay? Customers tend to trust other customers much more than they will ever trust you. And therefore, you need to find ways in which you can encourage your customers to tell really good stories and to put the time and the effort into creating those. My own kids are much, much better creating Instagram and TikTok stories than I ever will be, or I will have the patience to create myself. So encourage your customers to create discussions and to see your work not just as adverts that are one way, but discussions with your customers. Promote local activities or events, promote seasonal activities, and provide some dedicated platforms to be able to do this. The China Ready initiative at the Edinburgh Tourism Action Group is a beautiful example of how to promote off-season tourism and to make sure that the Chinese students who study at the different universities in Edinburgh felt really welcome. Also, it created a new viewpoint, a new opportunity for UK tourists to go to Edinburgh during February, where typically otherwise it would be low season. More than 30 visitor economy businesses lit up some of their most amazing buildings, but also provided opportunities for those businesses to encourage visitors to go into their shops and to purchase products and to make visitors generally just feel welcome by acknowledging there was the Chinese New Year with some of the decorations in the shops, for example. This created beautiful opportunities for user-generated content of social media that was really authentic, and it drew other visitors, other students from China to actually choose to go to Edinburgh for the Chinese New Year. Now, this is at a very large scale, but all of this could be applied for any business at any particular location to try to encourage these Chinese nationals who live in the UK already to actually experience Chinese New Year in your building. Here's a task for you to think about your marketing activities. Let's go to your database and group your customers into 5 different groups. You will label group number 1 your most valued customers. So if you're a cafe or a restaurant, they come every day. If you're an accommodation business, they may come 2 or 3 times per year. You'll have a group number 2 of regular customers. They come a bit less often. Okay, so if you're an accommodation, they may come once per year. You'll have group number 3, occasional customers. They've come once or twice, but they don't come very often. You got group number 4, people that came once and never came back. And you got a group number 5, people that inquired but never actually came to you, but you happen to have some of their data. How do you target each one of those groups, and how do you put marketing efforts that will be appropriate to the financial value that these customers are going to have for you? What you are prepared to do to attract group number 1 people to repeat is very different to what you're prepared to do for group number 4 sort of customers. And the kind of activities you'll do will be very different. Group number 1 customers is so valued to you, you don't want to get it wrong. But if you basically in here, you say, well, I want to encourage them to come more often, or to come at different times of day, or next time to visit and stay for one more day, or to upsell to them so they buy more products, or make sure the next time they visit with friends. The campaigns you'll do for group number 1 are different to the ones you'll do for group number 2 and group number 3. So segment your marketing campaigns according to different groups that you've got. So your task is to identify the specific sustainable experiences you're willing to offer to each one of those groups to get them to change their behavior in the way you want them to do. But remembering that all 5 groups will require very different experiences and very different levels of effort for you to bring them back.